A very rich man agreed to an arranged marriage to save his company. He was shocked to discover the bride's hidden secret. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. Enjoy the story. William Carter, heir to a crumbling business empire, was facing the most challenging time of his life. At 30, a very rich man agreed to an arranged marriage to save his company. He was shocked to discover the bride's hidden secret. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. Enjoy the story. William Carter, heir to a crumbling business empire, was facing the most challenging time of his life. At 34 years old, he had everything anyone could dream of: wealth, status, influence. All of it was on the verge of collapse. The financial crisis consuming Carter Enterprises wasn't just a numbers problem. It was deeply personal. A pivotal conversation with his father, Ramiro Carter, set the stage for the life he was about to live. He was 4 years old and had everything anyone could dream of: wealth and influence. But all of it was about to collapse. The financial crisis at Carter Enterprises wasn't just a numbers problem. It was deeply personal. A conversation with his father, Ramiro Carter, set the stage for the life-altering dilemma. You have to accept it, William. It's the only way to save the company. The words were harsh, cold, filled with desperation. Ramiro, a man accustomed to solving problems through deals, proposed a solution: a marriage of convenience with Aisha Al-Fayez, the daughter of a Middle Eastern oil magnate. William rejected the idea immediately. Marriage isn't a transaction, Dad. I'm not a pawn in your game. His indignation was palpable. The weight of the company's debts and the risk of losing thousands of jobs gnawed at his conscience. Ramiro's persistence: William was in a situation that made him question his morals. He believed in modern values. He also felt a strong responsibility to protect his family's legacy. The agreement wasn't just about money. It was about entering a strange and mysterious world. Aisha, the chosen bride, was almost a stranger to him. She was a calm and polite young woman, known for being careful with her words. Who was she really? Why would she agree to be part of such an alliance? The situation became even more complicated when William found some strange things about the company's finances. Records showed that their finances were worse than he had thought. Fraud could make the family look bad. The pressure to make a life-changing decision grew. William felt pressure to make a decision that would change his life. Under pressure, William finally made a decision. He felt sad about the decision. He felt he had to do what was best for his family and the company. Before signing the agreement that would unite two families from very different worlds, the engagement was formalized in a fancy ceremony full of unfamiliar customs and traditions. The venues glistened with crystal chandeliers and decorations inspired by the Middle East. Aisha, the future bride, was perfectly dressed in traditional clothing, her face partially covered, which only increased the mystery surrounding her. When William first saw Aisha, he was surprised. Her expression was a mix of calm and sadness. It wasn't the look of a woman. William thought that she looked like she was in love or hopeful. She looked like she was just accepting her fate. He thought that seeing her like that made him feel sorry for her. After the ceremony, they still spoke formally and didn't know each other well. Aisha was polite. She didn't share much about herself. William wanted to know more about her. They spoke a few times. They looked at each other with care. She seemed like she was carrying a heavy burden. He was keeping a secret. He couldn't figure out how to solve it. At the same time, the problems at Carter Enterprises got worse. William looked at the financial records, searching for a different way to avoid the marriage. The deeper he looked, the more obvious the problems became. Who was behind the manipulations? His father, Ramiro, seemed to know more than he let on. He avoided talking about it. In the chaos, William received news that turned everything upside down. Aisha had a hidden reason for agreeing to the marriage. Rumors spread that she was trying to protect something. Someone. Maybe a family member. From an unknown threat. This news made the tension between them worse, adding another level of mystery and doubt. William decided he needed to know the woman he was about to share his life with. He invited Aisha to a private dinner at his mansion, away from anyone who could see them. If we're going to do this, we need to be honest with each other, he said. But what Aisha said that night was just the start of a much bigger truth. One that William was not ready to face. Finally, William agreed to the pressure. This decision was made during nights of insomnia and a lot of conflicting emotions. He was a man known for being honest. Someone who never gave in to unfair deals that went against his beliefs. But this time, the situation was different. The business empire his family had built over many years was about to fail. I'm doing this for the company. Our legacy. Not for myself. He told Romero before signing the agreement that would change his life forever. The deal looked simple on paper. It had complicated real-world consequences. William was going to marry Aisha. William was going to marry Fayez, the daughter of a Middle Eastern oil magnate. The marriage would unite the two families and bring a large amount of money to Carter Enterprises. William felt sick about the idea of turning something as personal as marriage into a business transaction. This isn't a marriage, it's a contract, he muttered. He thought to himself as he read through the agreement's clauses. Still, he knew there was no other way out. The engagement was formalized in a fancy ceremony that looked like something out of a fairy tale. At least to the people outside, the halls were filled with crystal chandeliers and the guests wore outfits that blended, he thought to himself as he read the agreement's clauses. He knew there was no other way out. The engagement was formalized in a fancy ceremony that looked like something out of a fairy tale. At least to the people outside. The halls were filled with crystal chandeliers. The guests wore outfits that blended the best of Western and Eastern styles. Golden silk drapes divided the space. Live music filled the air with a melody that was both elegant and somber. When Aisha entered the room, all eyes turned to her. Dressed in a traditional outfit with intricate embroidery, she radiated a serene, enigmatic beauty. Her face was partially covered by a veil, which only added to the mystery surrounding her. William, who had never met her in person until that moment, was struck by the intensity of her gaze. Her eyes held a mix of calm and sadness that he couldn't quite understand. She's just as trapped as I am, William thought. Feeling a connection between them, William felt sorry for Aisha, who was being forced to share his fate. The ceremony, full of formalities, passed quickly for William. He barely heard the speeches or paid attention to the presentations. His mind was full of doubts. Who was Aisha really? Why had she agreed to this arranged marriage? Was she? Aisha was wearing a veil, which made her seem more mysterious. William had never met her before. He was impressed by how intense her gaze was. Her eyes showed a mix of calm and sadness. He couldn't understand them. He felt like he was giving in to his family's pressure. Just like she was. These thoughts filled his mind as he heard the applause around him, officially marking the engagement. The next days, William tried to focus on work. He couldn't stop thinking about Aisha. She seemed like a silent presence in his life. At family gatherings, and Aisha was wearing a veil, which made her seem even more mysterious. William, who had never met her before, was surprised by how intense her gaze was. Her eyes showed a mix of calm and sadness. He didn't understand why. He thought she was just as trapped as he was. She was always emotionally distant. He tried to start conversations with her. She answered with short, careful phrases, as if she were afraid of saying too much. This invisible wall between them only made the discomfort and mystery worse. Meanwhile, problems at Carter Enterprises got worse. William looked at the company's financial records. He found alarming discrepancies. The documents showed that the situation was far worse than Romero had let on. Even worse, there were signs of manipulation in the financial reports, which could cause a public scandal if exposed. William talked to his Aisha was wearing a veil, which made her seem more mysterious. William had never met her before. He was impressed by how intense her gaze was. Her eyes showed a mix of calm and sadness. He couldn't understand them. She's just as trapped as I am, William thought. Feeling worried, he asked his father about the strange things happening. Romero avoided his questions, saying the marriage would fix everything. Trust me, son. Everything will be fine, he said. William wasn't sure. In the business world, there were interesting rumors about Aisha. A close friend of William's mentioned her in a private conversation. Aisha and William had never met before. Now they were talking together. Aisha was wearing a veil, which made her seem more mysterious. William noticed that she was looking at him. Her eyes showed calm and sadness. He thought that maybe she was involved in something bigger than an arranged marriage. A family member of William's had mentioned something about this to him. This made him curious about Aisha. He wanted to know more about her. He invited her to dinner at his house. Aisha to dinner at his mansion. It was the first time the two of them had the chance to talk without their families or business associates present. If we're going to do this, we need to be honest with each other, he said. Trying to break through the formality that surrounded them, Aisha looked at him for a moment, as if she was partially covered by a veil, which only made her more mysterious. William, who had never met her in person until that moment, was surprised by how intense her gaze was. Her eyes showed a mix of calm and sadness that he couldn't quite understand. She's just as trapped as I am, William thought, deciding whether she could trust him. You're right. There are things you need to know, she replied. Her voice was soft but firm. What she revealed that night was only the start of the problem. Aisha shared that her family was facing a difficult situation, something that had forced her to agree to the arrangement. I didn't choose. Aisha was mysterious. She wore a veil, which made her seem even more so. William had never met her before. He was surprised by how intense her gaze was. Her eyes showed calm and sadness. William thought, I understand her. There are people who depend on me. I can't leave them helpless. Her words were full of emotion. For the first time, William realized that they were in the same situation. Both of them were trapped in a system of family obligations and sacrifices. But Aisha kept parts of her story hidden. This made William more curious. He wondered. Why is she hiding something? What else is there to her story? He thought about their dinner. Their relationship was still a mystery. One thing was clear, this marriage was more than just a transaction. The days following William and Aisha's dinner was a whirlwind of emotions. William used to finding clear answers to the challenges he faced. Now he was immersed in a mystery that seemed to grow with every interaction he had with his fiancée. What was Aisha hiding? Why did she seem to carry such a heavy burden despite her outward calm? These questions. A veil partially covered her, which only made her more mysterious. William, who had never met her before, was surprised by how intense her gaze was. Her eyes showed a mix of calm and sadness. He didn't understand them. She's just as trapped as I am, William thought, feeling a strong connection to her. Time was not on William's side. Carter Enterprises was under increasing pressure. Creditors were demanding payment. Employees were upset. The media was questioning the company's financial health. Meanwhile, Ramiro seemed to be retreating into his own world. Avoiding in William thought. We need to have deep conversations with her and give her vague reassurances. Like, trust the process, or, we're close to fixing everything. She's just as trapped as I am. He had never met her in person until that moment. Her eyes held a mix of calm and sadness that he couldn't quite understand. William knew this so-called confidence was just a front amid the chaos. William decided to take matters into his own hands that he hired an external auditor to review the company's financial records. The results were shocking, not only were the numbers worse than he'd imagined. There was also evidence that someone inside the company was manipulating the finances to cover up massive losses. This revelation confirmed his suspicions. William knew that the confidence he'd seen was just an act. In the chaos, William decided to take matters into his own hands. He hired an outside auditor to review the company's financial records. The results were shocking. The numbers were worse than he'd imagined. There was evidence that someone inside the company was manipulating the finances to cover up massive losses. This confirmed his suspicions. That something was seriously wrong behind the scenes. Meanwhile, his relationship with Aisha was evolving in unexpected ways, though still distant. They began to share small moments of vulnerability during a corporate event celebrating the union of their two families. William found her alone, gazing out of a window in an opulent hall, seemingly unaffected by the glamour surrounding her. Sometimes all of this feels like a prison, doesn't it? William asked as he approached her. Aisha turned slowly, her eyes showing a mix of surprise and understanding. More than you could imagine, she replied. It was the first time she had directly acknowledged the feelings they both shared. Her words were few. They carried an emotional weight that brought them closer. That night, William began to see Aisha not just as, this feels like a prison, doesn't it? William asked as he approached her. Aisha turned slowly, her eyes showing a mix of surprise and understanding. More than you could imagine, she replied. It was the first time she had directly acknowledged the feelings they both shared. Her words were few. They carried an emotional weight that brought them closer. That night, William began to see Aisha not just as a passive participant in this marriage. As a woman with stories, fears, deep secrets. Just like him. Yet the mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly. One rainy morning, Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her, Aisha was a passive participant in this marriage. She had stories, fears, deep secrets. She was like him. The mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly one rainy morning when Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her expression change as she read the letter, he approached. Aisha quickly tucked it away, avoiding any explanation. "Is something wrong?" William asked, trying to sound casual, though his concern was clear. "Nothing you need to worry about," Aisha replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The unease on her face was unmistakable. Later that day, William decided to seek answers on his own. He knew pressuring Aisha and knew she had to be careful. She couldn't ignore the signs that something serious was happening. She had to know more about her husband's past. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. She couldn't tell him about her family. She couldn't tell him about the secret he had explained to her. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be careful. She knew she couldn't tell him everything. Aisha knew she had to be. Aisha was not an active participant in this marriage. She had stories, fears, deep secrets. She was like him. There was a mystery about her. What was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly one rainy morning when Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her to the company and decided it was time to confront Ramiro about the financial situation. The conversation was tense. "You knew about this all along, didn't you?" William asked, holding up the auditor's reports. At first, Ramiro tried to downplay the issue. William's persistence forced him to admit the truth. "Yes. I knew. I did what I had to do to protect our company. Do you think I enjoy putting you in this?" She was a passive participant in this marriage. She had stories, fears, deep secrets. She was just like him. Yet, the mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly one rainy morning when Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her position, he said, "Sometimes survival requires tough decisions." Ramiro said this, his tone wavering between guilt and justification. The revelation shook William. It also motivated him to dig deeper. He knew he couldn't trust anyone blindly. Not even his own father. A few days later, Victor returned with information that made William even more intrigued. Aisha's family was facing an internal crisis. Her father, Kamal al-Aisha, was a passive participant in this marriage. She had stories, fears, deep secrets. She was just like him. Yet, the mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly one rainy morning when Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her, Fayez was caught in a fierce dispute with distant relatives who were questioning his leadership and management of the family business. On top of that, there were rumors that Aisha was being used as a bargaining chip to strengthen political and business alliances. This explained why she had agreed to the marriage. It also raised new questions. What was her true role in this conflict? When Victor shared these discoveries with William, he also handed over something that changed everything. Aisha was a passive participant in this marriage. She had stories, fears, deep secrets. She was just like him. Yet, the mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly one rainy morning when Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her, he realized it was a copy of a letter Aisha had received. The words were short but carried a heavy meaning: "If you fail, everyone will pay the price." Who had sent the letter? What did it mean? The tension reached its peak when William confronted Aisha again. This time, he was direct. "I know you're dealing with something big. I want to help. You need to trust me." Aisha hesitated, clearly torn between keeping her secrets and accepting support. Finally, she replied, "There are things you wouldn't." Aisha was a passive participant in this marriage. She had stories, fears, deep secrets. She was just like him. Yet, the mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly one rainy morning when Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her, he understood that things went beyond the two of them. That cryptic response only strengthened William's determination. He knew this was about more than an arranged marriage or a business deal. The mystery surrounding Aisha combined with the dark secrets of Carter Enterprises, creating a situation where every move felt like a game of chess. He was just beginning to learn the rules. William was determined to uncover what Aisha was hiding. With every new revelation, the mystery: she was a passive participant in this marriage. She had stories, fears, deep secrets. She was just like him. Yet, the mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly one rainy morning when Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope with no return address caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. when he noticed her only grow deeper. He began to realize that both his life and Aisha's were entangled in a much larger game of power. Secrets. Sacrifices. As William dove deeper into investigating the state of Carter Enterprises, a new problem emerged: the risk of a public scandal. The auditor he had hired uncovered that the manipulated financial records were used to hide suspicious transactions with international partners. Exposing this could lead not only to the company's bankruptcy, also to Aisha's reputation was in danger of being ruined. She might even be arrested. In the middle of all this chaos, Victor, the private investigator William had hired to investigate Aisha's situation, paid him an unexpected visit. Victor brought shocking news: the letter Aisha had received was sent by a distant cousin of her family, a man named Hakim, Aisha's father. Kamal Al-Fayez, the man she was supposed to marry. William, were both involved in a complicated situation. William felt a mix of anger, compassion, fear as he tried to deal with the situation. Meanwhile, Victor, the private investigator William had hired to investigate Aisha's situation, paid him an unexpected visit. Victor brought shocking news: the letter Aisha had received was sent by a distant cousin of her family, a man named Hakim. Hakim was trying to use Aisha as a pawn in a web of family intrigues, threatening to destroy her reputation and her family unless she met his demands. This is much deeper than a simple arranged marriage, William Victor said as he slid the envelope with the letter. William Victor said as he slid the envelope across the table. She's being used as a shield. The marriage to you is part of a plan to protect Kamal's position in both the market and international politics. William felt the weight of the situation. He knew he needed to confront Aisha directly. Something held him back. It was a mix of anger, compassion, and she's being used as a shield. The marriage to you is part of a plan to protect Kamal's position in both the market and international politics. William felt the weight of the situation. He knew he needed to confront Aisha directly. He hesitated. He felt anger, compassion, an inexplicable connection to her that stopped him from being forceful. He needed answers. He wanted Aisha to trust him enough to share them willingly. That evening, William found Aisha in the mansion's garden. It was a quiet, secluded spot where he hoped they could speak openly. She was sitting on a stone bench, her veil partially pulled back. He had an inexplicable connection to her that made him stop himself from being forceful. He needed answers. He wanted Aisha to trust him enough to share them willingly. That evening, William found Aisha in the mansion's garden. It was a quiet, secluded spot where he hoped they could speak openly. She was sitting on a stone bench, her veil partially pulled back, revealing the tired expression on her face. He approached slowly, sitting beside her without saying anything for a few moments. Finally, he broke the silence. I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation, just like my father did with me. But I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way. She looked at him, her face showing exhaustion. I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation, just like my father did with me. But I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way out together. At first, Aisha avoided his gaze. After a moment of reflection, she spoke. Do you think I'm here because I want to be? I never had a choice. William. My father made this deal with yours because it was the only way to keep my family from being destroyed. Tim wants to take everything. If I don't do my part, he'll. He saw the tired look on her face. He approached her slowly and sat next to her. He didn't say anything for a few moments. Finally, he spoke. I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation. Just like my father did with me. I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way to ruin my father's reputation and take control of all our businesses. She paused. Took a deep breath. Then continued. But there's something you need to know. There's another reason I agreed to this marriage. She stopped. As if the words were too difficult to say. William felt his heart racing. William said, "You can trust me, Aisha. Whatever it is, we can figure it out together." She finally met his eyes. Tears beginning to well up. "I didn't agree to this marriage just because of my family," she said. "I did it because I'm protecting someone I love. My younger brother is under Hatim's control. If I fail, he'll use my brother against me." The news hit William like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just an arranged marriage or a power play between two families. It was something much deeper. Something personal. He saw the pain in Aisha's eyes and realized for the first time that he truly understood her. "So that's how he controls you?" William asked. Trying to process. He looked at her. Seeing the tired look on her face. He sat next to her. Not saying anything for a few moments. Finally, he spoke. "I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation. Just like my father did with me. But I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way out. The situation, he threatens your brother's safety to keep you under his control." Aisha nodded. Her voice shaking but firm. "If I fail, he'll take everything from us, my brother. My family. Everything we have left. I couldn't take that risk." With this new information, William realized he was in an even more dangerous position. He looked at her. Seeing the tired look on her face, he sat down next to her. Not saying anything for a few moments. Finally, he spoke. "I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation. Just like my father did with me. But I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way. Do you just break the agreement? Do you expose the company's secrets without putting Aisha in danger?" The first time, he felt they were truly united in this fight. Not just as pieces on a chessboard. Manipulated by their parents. But he also knew something had to be done. He couldn't let Aisha continue carrying this burden alone. "I'll help." He took her hand. "I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation. Just like my father did with me. But I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way. No matter what happens, we'll get through this together." Their moment was interrupted by hurried footsteps. It was Victor. Bringing urgent news. "William. You need to see this. I found something that could change everything." Victor handed William a dossier containing documents that exposed a secret connection. He saw the tired look on her face. He came over and sat next to her. Not saying anything for a few moments. Finally, he spoke. "I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation. Just like my father did with me. But I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way to deal with it between Hakim and Ramiro." There were signs that William's father wasn't just a passive participant in the arrangement. Was also benefiting from Hakim's threats to secure the Alf's family's investment. This discovery changed everything. Now William faced an impossible decision: confront his father and risk exposing. He looked at her. Seeing that she was tired, he sat down next to her. Didn't say anything for a while. After a few moments, he spoke. I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in the situation. Just like my father did with me. I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way out of this. Or he could continue playing along until he could find a way to outmaneuver Hakim and free Aisha from his control. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. The full truth was still out of reach. William closed the dossier with shaking hands. The revelation that his own father, Ramiro, was involved in Hakim's. The man's actions shocked him. The man he had admired for most of his life wasn't just a man who manipulates people. He was involved in a plan that put lives in danger. Including Aisha's and her family's. William knew he had to be careful. Revealing what he had learned too soon could cause everything to fall apart. That same night, he shared the contents of the dossier with Aisha. They sat in the mansion's office, surrounded by piles of documents spread across the desk, trying to piece everything together. Aisha, though visibly upset, showed surprising focus and determination. This explained so much, she murmured, holding a paper showing suspicious financial transfers between Ramiro and Hakim. I always suspected there was more to this story than my father let on. I never imagined your father was directly involved. William realized they were treading dangerous ground. He couldn't confront Ramiro without a solid plan. At the same time, he had to ensure the safety of Aisha's brother, who remained a key piece in Hakim's control. The first thing we need to do is make sure your brother is safe, William said. Without him as leverage, Hakim loses much of his power over you. Aisha agreed. She felt uneasy about putting her brother in more danger. Hakim was unpredictable. Any wrong move could put my family in danger. We have to be extremely careful. Then, William decided to make an unexpected alliance. He reached out to someone who knew about Hakim's operations and could help uncover his plans. That person was Kamil, a former business partner of Hakim who had cut ties with him years ago because of his corrupt practices. Kamil was a smart and very resourceful woman. She was known for her discretion and ability to handle high-important situations. When she met with William and Aisha, she immediately saw weaknesses in Hakim's system. Hakim is brilliant. He has one weakness: he's too confident. He doesn't take those he thinks he controls seriously. Kamil said. If we play our cards right, we can defeat him before he even realizes it. The plan began to take shape. First, Kamil would help track the illegal funds Hakim was using to pressure the families involved in his schemes. The idea was to expose his practices to international authorities, ensuring he lost his money and people started to trust him less. Meanwhile, William and Aisha would help protect her brother by creating a way out in case Hakim tried to get revenge. At the same time, William started getting ready for a fight with Ramiro. He knew his father wouldn't easily admit that he was involved in the plans. He decided to gather more evidence. With Kamil and Victor's help, he got access to private messages between Ramiro and Hakim, which revealed that the two had negotiated the terms of the arranged marriage. Even more shocking, the evidence showed that Ramiro had allowed Hakim to use Aisha as a bargaining chip from the very beginning. This devastated William. He spent sleepless nights trying to comprehend how someone who was supposed to protect the family could betray their values so blatantly. My father sacrificed everything, even his dignity, for money. He told Aisha his voice was bitter. But he won't get away with this. As the plan moved forward, the tension continued to increase. Aisha started to share with William details about her childhood and her difficult relationship with her father. She said that Kamal was protective, also very strict. This made her feel like she had to take care of her family's responsibilities from a young age. "I never had a choice," she said. "Everything was always decided for me. This marriage is just one more example of that." These conversations made William and Aisha closer. They started to see they saw each other not just as victims of an unfair system, as allies who could fight together to take back control of their lives. William, who had initially seen the marriage as a prison, began to see Aisha as someone he could share his dreams and struggles with. Those who read all the way through. Here's a fun challenge: write Pepsi Cola in the comments. Only those who get there will understand. Now, back to the story. The moment of confrontation finally arrived. William arranged a meeting with Ramiro under the he said he was going to talk about the company's financial strategies. He actually showed all the documents he had collected. These documents included proof of Ramiro's connection to Hakim. You knew he was using Aisha to make a deal. William spoke in a firm but controlled voice. You knew he was controlling the whole situation. Yet you chose to team up with him. Why? What could possibly be worth putting both our family and hers in danger? Ramiro was surprised. He tried to justify his actions. I did what I had to do to protect the company. William, sometimes hard sacrifices are necessary. That's not protection, it's betrayal. William fired back angrily. And now I'm going to undo all the damage you've caused. I won't let you, Hakim, anyone else control our lives. Ramiro remained silent. The look on his face made it clear that he knew the game was changing. William was no longer the obedient heir, he was a determined opponent. The final plan to take Hakim down was in motion. Camille had gathered enough evidence to launch an international investigation. William and Aisha were getting ready to rescue her brother. The situation was very tense. They knew they couldn't turn back. To make sure everyone could be free, they had to be very careful and brave. The plan to rescue Aisha's brother, Karim, make Hakim lose his power, was happening now. Every step had to be carefully thought out. Any mistake could put Karim, Aisha, her family in a very dangerous situation. William was now completely dedicated to protecting Aisha and standing up to Hakim. He was working closely with Camille and Victor had a plan that was very unlikely to work. First, they had to find Karim. Hakim was good at manipulating people and hiding information. He was always watching the young man. Camille's friends in Dubai told them that Karim was being held at a remote property on the edge of the city. It was a fancy villa with armed guards. The investigation also revealed that Hakim used this property for confidential meetings with allies, making it a location of high strategic importance that it won't be easy to get in without drawing attention. Victor explained. Studying the property map, but if we create a distraction, we can use it to our advantage. William knew they needed more than just a solid plan, they needed courage and the investigation revealed that Hakim used this property for confidential meetings with allies, making it a location of high strategic importance. It won't be easy to get in without drawing attention. Victor explained. Studying the property map. But if we create a distraction, we can use it to our advantage. William knew they needed more than just a solid plan. They needed courage and, above all, trust in one another. Aisha, You don't have to be directly involved in this, he said, concerned for her safety. But Aisha was resolute. Kareem is my brother. William. I can't stand by and do nothing. The plan began with a carefully crafted distraction. Camille contacted one of Hakeem's old rivals, pretending to be an informant willing to trade valuable information. This led Hakeem to schedule There was an urgent meeting at his property, which distracted him and his security team. Meanwhile, Victor and William got into the villa with the help of a bribed employee, who let them in through a less guarded entry point. The most tense moment came when William and Victor entered the house. Kareem was being kept in a locked room on the upper floor, guarded by 2 men. The pair managed to stop them. There was an urgent meeting at his property to distract him and his security team. Meanwhile, Victor and William got into the villa with the help of a bribed employee who let them in through a less guarded entry point. The most tense moment came when William and Victor entered the house. Kareem was being kept in a locked room on the upper floor, guarded by 2 men. The pair managed to neutralize the guards quietly. Time was critical. Hakeem's meeting downstairs meant that any noise could expose the operation. When they finally opened the door, they found Kareem sitting in a chair, visibly frightened but relieved to see his sister's allies. Aisha said to me to get you, William said, trying to sound calm. Kareem, though hesitant at first, trusted them and followed them out of the property. Meanwhile, guards waited quietly. Time was running out. Hakeem's meeting downstairs meant that any noise could expose the operation. When they finally opened the door, they found Kareem sitting in a chair. He looked visibly frightened, relieved to see his sister's allies. Aisha told me to get you, William said, trying to sound calm. Kareem, though hesitant at first, trusted them and followed them out of the property. Meanwhile, Aisha waited in a safe location with Camille monitoring the operation remotely. Her heart raced with every update. She knew she couldn't show weakness. When she finally received the news that Kareem was safe, tears of relief streamed down her face. Thank you, she whispered to herself, feeling genuine hope for the first time in a long while. The second part of the plan focused on bringing Hakeem down. With the evidence Camille had gathered, William filed a formal complaint with international authorities, exposing Hakeem's illegal activities, including money laundering and extortion. The investigation quickly gained momentum. Supported by Camille's influential allies and the detailed documentation William provided, realizing he was losing control, Hakeem attempted to fight back. That he sent threatening messages to Aisha and William. It was too late. The authorities raided his property, seizing documents, assets, equipment that confirmed the charges against him. The once untouchable oil magnate now faced an uncertain future, surrounded by scandal. The final confrontation between William and Hakeem came unexpectedly. Before being taken into custody, Hakeem managed to contact William, requesting a face-to-face meeting. Meanwhile, face meeting. You think you've won? This isn't over, Hakeem said angrily. William remained calm. You underestimated the people around you. Your greed was your downfall, Hakeem. Now you'll pay for everything you've done. Those words marked the end of Hakeem's reign. As he was taken away, William felt a mixture of relief and satisfaction. The battle had been won. The emotional toll of everything that had happened weighed heavily on him. With Kareem now safe, Aisha finally felt like she could breathe again. Guards quietly made sure that there was no noise. It was important to be quiet. Karim's meeting downstairs meant that any noise could show that they were there. When they finally opened the door, they found Karim sitting in a chair. He looked scared. Also happy to see his sister's friends. "Aisha told me to go get you," William said. Trying to sound calm, Karim, though hesitant at first, trusted them and followed them out of the building. At the same time, she thanked William for his courage and determination. He quickly corrected her. "You did this for him. I just helped make it happen." Their relationship had changed a lot. What began as an arranged marriage, which initially felt like a prison, had become something far more meaningful. They were no longer strangers forced into a shared life. They were partners who had faced the impossible together. While all this was happening, William hadn't forgotten about Ramiro. He knew there were still unresolved issues. Issues with his father. Exposing Hakim meant that Ramiro's involvement in the schemes would eventually come to light as well. For now, William decided to wait. He wanted to address one final matter before confronting his father again, his relationship with Aisha. With Hakim out of the picture and Karim finally safe, William and Aisha found a brief moment of peace. However, the emotional toll and the consequences of their decisions still loomed over them. There was no turning back. All they could do now was wait and see what would happen. The guards were careful not to make a sound. Karim's meeting with his sister's allies was about to take place. "Aisha told me to go get you," William said. Trying to sound calm, Karim, though hesitant at first, trusted them and followed them out of the property. Meanwhile, the Al-Fays were rebuilding their lives. They had been scarred by so much intrigue, sacrifice, betrayal. Aisha's first priority was ensuring that Karim could restart his life in safety. He had been relocated to a discreet location in London, where trusted friends of the Al-Fays family would care for him. Although the separation was painful, Aisha knew it was necessary. "I just want him to have the chance to be free. To live without the weight of expectations that were placed on me," she confided to William. In turn, he promised to do everything he could to help her keep Karim safe and far from the corrupt systems that had controlled their lives. Meanwhile, William returned to Carter Enterprises with a renewed sense of purpose. After weeks of investigations and confrontations, he finally had undeniable proof that Ramiro had allied with Hakim to save the company. Though his father's betrayal still hurt, William knew he had to approach the situation strategically. He called an emergency board meeting, presenting the financial irregularities and exposing the extent of Ramiro's involvement in the illegal schemes. "I'm not here to destroy my father," William said during the meeting. "His actions have put all of us at risk. We can't keep going down the same path that brought us here. From now on, we will do things differently. We will be transparent and accountable." The board was torn between loyalty to Ramiro and the need to protect the company. They voted to remove Ramiro as CEO and appointed William. The meeting was a tough one. "We've got to do things differently moving forward. We can't keep going down the same path that brought us here." The board was torn between loyalty to Ramiro and the need to protect the company. They voted to remove Ramiro as CEO and appointed William as his successor. William knew it was the only way to save the company and restore its reputation. Ramiro was initially furious. He eventually admitted that his mistakes had led the family to this point. "You did what needed to be done," he told William in a rare moment of humility. "I hope you'll be a better As William took over, he faced challenges. Aisha and William started to think about their relationship. They were no longer just pawns in a power game. They had shared a unique journey of pain, sacrifice, redemption. One evening, as they walked through the gardens of the Carter mansion, William finally addressed the question that had been on his mind for weeks. Aisha, I know we started this for reasons. Everything has changed. It's beyond our control. I don't want you to feel trapped. If you want to leave, I'll understand. Aisha stopped and looked at him. Her eyes showed gratitude and more. William, I've never had choices in my life. I've always been defined by what others wanted from me. Now, beyond our control, everything has changed. I don't want you to feel trapped in any of this. If you want to leave, I'll understand. Aisha stopped and looked at him. Her eyes reflected a mix of gratitude and something deeper. William, I've never had choices in my life. I've always been defined by what others wanted from me. Now, the first time, I feel like I have a choice. If you ask me, I'd choose to stay. Those words marked a new beginning for both of them. What had started as a contract between families turned into an opportunity to build something real based on trust and mutual respect. William, who had always valued his freedom above all else. Beyond our control, everything has changed. I don't want you to feel trapped in any of this. If you want to leave, I'll understand. Aisha stopped and looked at him. Her eyes reflected a mix of gratitude and something deeper. William, I've never had choices in my life. I've always been defined by what others wanted from me. But now, I realize that true freedom came from being with someone who understood me deeply. Rebuilding wasn't easy. Aisha decided to use her experiences and the connections she had made to start an initiative to help women in similar situations. Women who had been forced to give up their dreams in the name of traditions and family expectations. With financial support from William and the influence of the Al-Faya family, the project quickly gained momentum, becoming a powerful force in the fight for equality and freedom. Meanwhile, William worked on transforming Carter Enterprises, focusing on ethical and sustainable practices. He knew that restoring public. Aisha smiled and replied, "Yes, William. For the first time. Yes. This new chapter in our lives was marked by deliberate choices and a mutual commitment. I've never had choices in my life. I've always been defined by what others wanted from me. But now, trust in the company would take more than words. It would require concrete actions under his leadership. The company began investing in initiatives that promoted social responsibility, earning the market's respect and rebuilding its reputation. Months passed. Life gradually began to stabilize. Aisha and William, now true partners, not only survived the challenges they had faced, also found a way to thrive together. On a special evening during a trip to Paris, William surprised Aisha with a proposal she never expected. Aisha, our marriage started as an arrangement. Everything we've been through has shown me that you're so much more than I could have imagined. I want to build a future with you. Not because I have to. Because I can't imagine my life without you. Will you stay with me this time? With tears in her eyes, Aisha smiled and replied, "Yes." This new chapter in their lives was marked by deliberate choices and a mutual commitment. I don't want you to feel trapped in any of this. If you want to leave, I'll understand. Aisha stopped and looked at him. Her eyes reflected a mix of gratitude and something deeper. William. I've never had choices in my life. I've always been defined by what others wanted for me. But now, I want to create something meaningful. The journey they had traveled was painful and filled with obstacles. What they found at the end was something neither of them had expected, a genuine connection. Built from the ashes of their struggles. After months of personal and professional rebuilding, William and Aisha entered a new phase. Beyond our control. Everything has changed. I don't want you to feel trapped in any of this. If you want to leave, I'll understand. Aisha stopped and looked at him. Her eyes reflected a mix of gratitude and something deeper. William. I've never had choices in my life. I've always been defined by what others wanted for me. But now, of their lives, what began as an arranged marriage had evolved into a true partnership. But their journey was far from over. The scars of the past lingered. Redefining their family relationships and business responsibilities presented new challenges that would test their strength and resilience once again. Ramiro, who had been removed from Carter Enterprises, still lived in the family mansion. But his role within the family dynamic had changed dramatically. Once the dominant and unquestionable figure, he now watched from the sidelines as William took control of the company and redefined the values that shaped the Carter legacy. You've done a good job. He admitted something during a rare moment of vulnerability. Which I didn't expect. Although the relationship between father and son was far from fully fixed, there was a growing sense of mutual respect. William knew Ramiro had made serious mistakes. He also saw that the man who once seemed unyielding was, in his own way, trying to make amends. I can't forget what you did, William said during an honest conversation. But maybe we can find a way forward this time with honesty. Meanwhile, Aisha faced changes within her own family. The failure of the rescue of Hakeem and Kareem had restored some balance to the Alfia family. The emotional scars left by her cousin's betrayals and manipulations were still very present. Her father, Kamal, tried to reconnect with her and apologized for putting her in such a difficult position. I thought I was protecting you, he said, regretfully. I now see that I only hurt you more. Aisha chose to give him a second chance, saying, I forgive you, Father. Things have to change. I don't want Kareem or anyone else in our family to go through what I did. This conversation marked a turning point for the Alfia's family, who began adopting a more collaborative and transparent approach to their business and familial relationships. On the business front, William Carter Enterprises was facing many challenges. The company was slowly recovering. Its reputation was still damaged. William decided to invest in projects that helped local communities and promote sustainable practices. He wanted to speed up the rebuilding process. Some board members were skeptical of this idea. They preferred to focus on short-term goals. Short-term profits. William stood firm. He said, if we're going to survive, we need to show the world that we've learned from our mistakes. This isn't just about money, it's about doing what's right. This ethical approach began attracting investors who agreed with the company's new values, bringing in money that helped the company recover faster. William's vision for Carter Enterprises not only helped save the business, also set a new standard within the industry. Aisha expanded her initiative to support women in need. With Kareem's help, she established an international support network that provided education, training, job opportunities for women forced to abandon their dreams due to cultural and societal pressures. This partnership between William and Aisha was also reflected in their professional relationship. Initiatives. They often worked together on projects that used Carter Enterprises' resources and Aisha's support network, creating a bigger impact. This partnership made their relationship stronger, showing that they were better together than apart. Even though they were doing well, new problems kept coming up. A media company that had been following the problems involving Hakeem and the financial scandals at Carter Enterprises' Al-Fayez family started wondering about the real nature of William and Aisha's relationship. Rumors and conspiracy theories spread quickly in the tabloids, putting pressure on the couple. "Do you think this will ever stop?" Aisha asked one evening as they looked at the latest articles about their lives. William held her hand and replied, "People will always talk. What matters is what we're building together. No one can take that away from us." Away from us. This helped them deal with the criticism and stay focused on what mattered, the future they were creating. One day, Kareem, who had started working at an NGO supported by Aisha, shared an ambitious idea with her and William. "What if we created a program that brought together young people from different cultures to solve global problems like climate change or inequality?" The proposal was bold. It deeply resonated. They started working on this new project right away. This project made their other projects bigger. It showed how their stories and values were connected. It showed that even when things are hard, something good can come out of it. William and Aisha's marriage, which started as something they had to do, is now an example of William and Aisha had shown resilience, partnership, transformation. They had not only overcome the challenges they faced, also used those experiences to create something bigger than themselves. With their families beginning to heal, their careers thriving, their love growing stronger each day, William and Aisha were ready to face the future. As time went on, William and Aisha realized that their lives had once been defined by family pressures. People were expecting a lot from them. Now it was about something much bigger, the legacy they were building together. Their story of struggles and victories inspired not just their families, also those who had followed their journey. They had turned an arranged marriage full of secrets and manipulation into a way to make meaningful changes in the world. The foundation of this legacy was the success of the global program Kareem had envisioned. It brought together young people from different cultures to work on projects addressing global issues like social inequality, climate change, access to education. The initiative was named Bridges to the Future, symbolizing the idea of connecting seemingly opposite worlds, just as William and Aisha had done in their own lives. Kareem took on a leadership role in the program, emerging as a young visionary who inspired others to believe in the power of collaboration. "I've learned that even in the face of adversity, there's always room for hope and action," he said during the program's launch event in London. His words captured the essence of what William Aisha had taught him, that overcoming challenges creates opportunities to transform the world. Meanwhile, Carter Enterprises continued to thrive as a model of ethics and responsibility in the corporate world. Under William's leadership, the company not only recovered from past crises, also became a leader in sustainable practices. One of its greatest achievements was the creation of a social impact fund, which allocated a portion of the company's profits to support underserved communities worldwide. "We're showing that it's possible to do business with integrity," Williams said in an interview with a prominent business newspaper. "True success isn't just we are judged by what we achieve, also by the positive impact we have on people's lives." Aisha played an important role in this change. She used her experience to build partnerships between Carter Enterprises and her network of supporters of vulnerable women. This allowed both initiatives to reach more people. Together, these efforts touched thousands of lives, providing new opportunities and hope for those who needed it most. On a personal level, William and Aisha were closer than ever. Despite their busy schedules, they made time to nurture their relationship and celebrate the small victories of everyday life. The Carter Mansion, once a cold and formal place, had Ramiro's family gatherings, dinners with friends. Celebrations were full of laughter and joy. Although he was no longer leading the company, he remained close to William and Aisha, offering advice and support whenever needed. Their relationship had evolved into something more balanced. Ramiro told William, "I see in you the leader I always wanted to be. You're building a legacy that will last for generations." Kamal Alfaiz also grew closer to Aisha, recognizing her strength and independence. He became actively involved in her initiatives, helping to build connections. They also gave her more resources to help with her projects. This partnership was an important step toward fixing past problems and making their family stronger. One of the most important moments of this new chapter was the opening of a community center in the Middle East to help women and young people in need. The center was named after Aisha's mother, who had been a big inspiration to her when she was young. During the opening ceremony, Aisha spoke to an emotional audience. "This center shows that we can be strong and hopeful. It shows that even when things are very hard, we can find the strength to create something new and meaningful. I am very thankful to everyone who made this possible, especially my partner and friend William, who never lost faith that we could make a difference." Sitting in the front row, William started crying as he listened to Aisha's words. He knew this moment was about more than just the success of a project. It was the result of everything they had overcome together. Even after achieving great success, William and Aisha knew that the journey didn't end there. They continued to face challenges, both personally and professionally. They were more prepared than ever to meet them. The strong connection between them was formed through hardships could not break them. One evening, they were relaxing at home and looking at the New York City skyline. Aisha asked William, "Do you think we've made a difference?" He smiled and held her hand. "I think we've just begun." The legacy William and Aisha were creating was about more than business success or charity initiatives. It was a story of love, strength, change that inspired everyone around them. They had shown that even in the hardest situations, it's possible to find strength, meaning, hope. Together, they could overcome anything. With life finally settling into a stable and growing rhythm, William and Aisha they entered a new phase, marked by the fulfillment of their dreams and the expansion of their projects. The world seemed more open, full of possibilities. They were ready to embrace everything the future held. The relationship between William and Aisha, which began as an imposed contract, had become a source of inspiration to those around them. They were often invited to speak at international events about their charity work, business strategies, and, most importantly, the story that brought them to where they were. At a conference in Geneva, William shared a heartfelt message that moved the audience. "When everything seemed to fall apart, I realized the biggest challenges are also the biggest opportunities. Sometimes, the connections we resist the most are the ones that save us." Aisha added that love doesn't need to start as a fairy tale to become extraordinary. It can grow from pain, struggles, difficult choices and still blossom. Their words inspired others and helped create a global community. The most difficult challenges can also be the best opportunities. Sometimes, the connections we resist the most are the ones that save us. Aisha added that we are proof that love doesn't need to start as a fairy tale to become extraordinary. It can grow from pain, struggles, difficult choices and still blossom. Their words not only inspired others, also helped create a global community that supported their causes, further amplifying the impact they were making. The Bridges to the Future program, which started as a modest initiative to connect young people from different cultures, grew into a global movement. With financial support from Carter Enterprises and other corporations that believed in William and Aisha's vision, the program reached dozens of countries, impacting thousands of lives. The Bridges to the Future program started as a small effort to connect young people from different cultures. It grew into a global movement. With money from Carter Enterprises and other companies that supported William and Aisha's ideas, the program reached many countries and impacted thousands of lives. Aisha's support network for women also grew quickly. It now included educational centers, programs to help people start businesses, even a digital platform that connected women worldwide to share experiences and support each other. The success of the initiative was celebrated at a big event in Dubai, where Aisha received an international award for her work to make gender equality a reality. Kareem, who was becoming more deeply involved, he was becoming a spokesperson for youth at global conferences. His work was crucial in expanding initiatives in the Middle East, where he often shared his personal story as an example of resilience. I've learned that even in the hardest circumstances, there's always a way forward. It takes courage to find it, he said in an interview that went viral on social media. Despite their accomplishments, the challenges continued to arise. They continued to face challenges. Carter Enterprises, a company that is ethical and innovative, faced fierce competition from other larger companies. William, however, saw these challenges as opportunities to keep reinventing the business. He launched a sustainable technology division focused on clean and affordable energy solutions, reinforcing the company's commitment to the planet's future. Meanwhile, Aisha, she decided to create educational and inspiring content, including documentaries and books, to tell stories of resilience, including her own. Her first documentary, Beyond the Veil, was an instant success, highlighting the struggles and triumphs of women challenging cultural and societal expectations. Amid all this, William and Aisha received news that changed their lives. Once again, Aisha was pregnant. The discovery was met with a mix of surprise and joy. I think we're about to embark on the most challenging and rewarding adventure of all, William joked. Holding Aisha's hand, the arrival of a child brought new purpose to their lives. They began planning how to balance their professional and personal responsibilities. Determined to create, and Carter Enterprises was growing and becoming more successful. However, the company faced challenges from other businesses that were much larger. William saw these challenges as opportunities to make changes to the business. He started a new part of the company that focused on creating technology that would help the environment. He wanted to show that the company cared about the planet's future. Aisha wanted her child to grow up in a loving and free environment with strong values. To celebrate this new chapter in their lives, William and Aisha decided to renew their wedding vows in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Unlike their first wedding, which had been an obligation, this celebration was a reflection of the love and partnership they had built. The ceremony took place in a sunny field in Tuscany, With beautiful views, Carter Enterprises was facing challenges. It was an ethical and innovative company. It was also facing fierce competition from much larger corporations. William saw these challenges as opportunities to keep reinventing the business. He launched a sustainable technology division. This division focused on clean and affordable energy solutions. This division reinforced the company's commitment to the planet's future. Meanwhile, Aisha dressed in an elegant outfit. The outfit blended Western and Eastern elements. She gave a speech that moved everyone. This is the start of a new chapter. And although our story began in an unexpected way, what matters is how we choose to continue it. Today, I reaffirm my commitment to face any challenge by your side. William. Because together we are stronger. William. Holding her hands. Replied, Aisha. You've changed my life in ways I never. William and Aisha faced challenges. They also saw opportunities. William saw these challenges as chances to improve the company. He started a new part of the company that worked on clean energy. This showed that the company cared about the environment. Aisha thought. You've shown me that love can grow in the most unlikely places and become the most powerful force in the world. This is just the beginning of all we're going to build together. As the sun set over Tuscany, William and Aisha thought about the future. They knew there was still much to do. Many challenges to face. Countless lives to impact. But they were ready. Now that we have all this, what will we do next? Aisha asked. Smiling. William replied, Carter Enterprises was an ethical and innovative company. It faced fierce competition from corporate giants. William saw these challenges as opportunities. He launched a sustainable technology division. This division focused on clean and affordable energy solutions. This showed the company's commitment to the planet's future. Meanwhile, Aisha believed in her dreams. She believed in everything and more. What began as a forced marriage had become a symbol of transformation. Resilience. Hope. William and Aisha had not only rebuilt their lives. They had created a legacy that would inspire generations to come. With the foundation of their accomplishments firmly in place, William and Aisha began expanding their influence on the global stage. Their story of overcoming challenges and transforming their lives became a powerful example of Carter Enterprises was facing challenges. William saw them as opportunities. He started a new part of the company that worked on clean energy. This showed that Carter Enterprises wanted to help the planet. Aisha was also working hard. She was working to help people all over the world. She was working to help people in the future. She was working to help people do things that she and William had done. She was working to help people do new things. The projects that William and Aisha were working on got bigger and better. The Bridges to the Future program had new goals. It worked on new things like new technologies and helping people in bad situations. It worked with governments and international organizations. The program started working in over 50 countries. Connecting young innovators and community leaders to create real solutions for global problems. At a UN event, Aisha spoke to a group of world leaders, saying that we need to work together to solve the world's biggest problems. We need each other. We need to build bridges. Not just between countries. Between people's hearts. At the same time, William was changing Carter's plans. He made changes to better align the company with his personal values and modern demands. He started an internal mentorship program, encouraging employees to suggest new and sustainable project ideas. This program had great results. including new ways to reduce the company's carbon footprint and new technologies for renewable energy. The business also became a leader in being open about its practices, regularly publishing reports about its social impact. He made changes to better align the company with his personal values and modern demands. He created an internal mentorship program, encouraging employees to propose innovative and sustainable project ideas. This initiative had impressive results, including renewable energy technologies and new ways of reducing the company's carbon footprint. The business also became a leader in being open about its operations, regularly publishing reports detailing the social and environmental impacts of its operations. This made Carter Enterprises a model of integrity and innovation in the corporate world. Aisha's relationship with her family continued to change. Her father, Kamal, became a committed partner in her initiatives, using his experience and connections to help expand projects in the Middle East. Kareem, now more confident and determined, took on a leadership role in expanding the youth program to reach remote communities. He became an important voice, encouraging young people to believe in their potential and fight for change. During an international TV program, Kareem said, "My sister and William showed me that true power isn't about what we have. It's about what we do with what we have." Amid these achievements, William and Aisha also learned to treasure the simple personal moments. Between global meetings and high-profile events, they always made time to enjoy life together. They might be having a quiet dinner at the mansion or exploring a new place on a work trip. The arrival of their first child, a daughter named Amira, made them even happier. Amira was a symbol of the future they were building. They were committed to creating a world where she could grow up with freedom, equality, opportunity. Even as a toddler, Amira was surrounded by love and admiration. Her first steps were celebrated with enthusiasm. William was very emotional when he heard her first words. Aisha said, "She reminds us of everything we fought for. Every sacrifice was worth it to get here." She added. Still, the couple understood that the work was never done. Global challenges persisted. New crises required quick action, effective responses. With the strength of their partnership, they felt ready for anything. What matters, William often said in his speeches, "Never forget why we started. Everything we do is to create a world where future generations can dream and achieve without the limitations we faced." The influence of William and Aisha crossed borders, inspiring a new generation of leaders to work together and believe. They were always able to find time to enjoy their lives together. This included having quiet dinners at the mansion or exploring new places during work trips. The arrival of their first child, a daughter named Amira, made them very happy. Amira became a symbol of the future they were building. Both parents were committed to creating a world where she could grow up with freedom, equality, opportunity. Their impact was felt across the world. This included underserved communities gaining access to opportunities and boardrooms where decisions were made based on the principles they had championed. As they reflected on all they had achieved, William and Aisha knew there was still much to be done. They also knew they were not alone. The legacy they had built was supported by a global network of people dedicated to making. They were always able to enjoy their lives together. Whether it was through quiet dinners at the mansion or exploring new places during work trips. The arrival of their first child, a daughter named Amira, brought a new sense of joy and purpose to their lives. Amira became a symbol of the future they were building. Both parents were committed to creating a world where she could grow up with freedom, equality, opportunity. They hadn't just changed their own lives, they had transformed the course of countless others around the world. One quiet evening, Aisha looked at William and asked, "Do you think we've accomplished everything we dreamed of?" He smiled and replied, "We've accomplished more than we dreamed of. The best is yet to come." And so William and Aisha continued their journey. Not just as a couple. As leaders. They were partners and dreamers who had shown the world the power of transformation and love. Their story became an enduring symbol of hope. Proving that even in the hardest circumstances, extraordinary things can be built with courage, determination, unity. Over the years, William and Aisha transformed their lives and the lives of thousands around the world. The impact of their actions, from philanthropic projects to business innovations, was they always made time to enjoy life together. They might be having dinner at the mansion or traveling to new places for work. When their first child, a daughter named Amira, was born, it made them very happy. Amira was a symbol of the future they were building. They wanted her to have a free, equal, fair life. They created a home filled with love, purpose, hope. This home reflected everything they had overcome and achieved together. As time went on, little Amira grew up surrounded by stories of courage, resilience, unity. Her curiosity and empathy stood out. She often accompanied her parents on trips to visit the community centers they had built. One day, while visiting one of the first educational centers, Aisha had started some schools. Amira looked at her mother and asked, "Mom, why did you start all this?" Aisha smiled and replied, "Because someone had to show that no matter where you come from, you can always change the world. Starting by helping one person at a time." That lesson stayed with Amira. Inspired by her parents' example, she began to get involved in the family's projects. Creative vision brought new ideas. She soon became a bridge between generations. She helped to modernize and expand the reach of their initiatives. The next generation of the Carter family was ready to carry on the legacy with the same passion and dedication William and Aisha had shown. Meanwhile, William and Aisha found joy in life's simple moments. They learned to balance the demands of their global commitments with the beauty of family time. Quiet dinners, nights under the stars, trips to remote places became rituals that reminded them of what truly mattered, the love that united them. The next generation of the Carter Alfayez family was ready to carry on the legacy with the same passion and dedication that William and Aisha had shown. Meanwhile, William and Aisha found joy in life's simple moments. They learned to balance the demands of their global commitments with the beauty of family time. Quiet dinners, nights under the stars, trips to remote places became rituals that reminded them of what truly mattered, the love that united them. They were guided by a sense of purpose that on a special evening celebrating 10 years of marriage, William gave a speech that perfectly captured their journey. He said, "When this all started, I never imagined we'd be here today. Life put us in difficult situations and tested us in ways we couldn't have foreseen. But through every obstacle we found strength in each other. What started as something we had to do became the best thing that ever happened to us. Aisha, you didn't just change my life, you taught me to dream bigger and to fight for a better future for everyone. And this is just the start." I was so emotional that I should have taken the microphone and said something. William, what we've built together is proof that even the stories that seem like they'll never end can have the best endings. Our love is the foundation of it all. It's also the force that drives us to keep helping others find their own strength. We're living proof that when you act with love and purpose, the impossible becomes possible. The applause that filled the room wasn't just a celebration of the couple. It was a recognition of everything they had accomplished and the lasting impact they had made on the world. Friends. Family. Long that night, Time allies joined them. Confirming what everyone there already knew, William and Aisha weren't just examples of success. They were symbols of humanity and inspiration. In that moment, as they danced under the bright lights and stars, William and Aisha knew they had found love and purpose. They had transformed their lives and created a legacy that would live on long after them. The future was bright and full of possibilities. Most importantly, they knew they would face it all. William and Aisha were a perfect match. Their story, which started as a simple contract, is a famous tale of love, strength, change. It will continue to inspire people for many years. What did you think of William and Aisha's story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to stay updated on all our stories. You can also check out more inspiring stories by clicking here on the end screen.